So welcome to 13 Minutes, Why Every Man Needs a Why. I'm in the house with Ravi Rothenberg. Thanks for being here.
Absolute pleasure.
AKA the Peaceful Papa, and we're going to get into it. But first, a little context for you, know what you're stepping into here. Every 13 minutes in America, pretty tragic statistic, a man kills himself. By the end of the show, roughly 3 men will have chosen to die instead of chosen to live. And my teacher and mentor, Dr. Viktor Frankl, said, "He who has a why to live for can bear with almost any how." My father killed himself, didn't have a why. My mission in life is to help men discover and live their why, and I can think of no better way to do that than to share other men and your why, because I've watched enough podcasts and I've been around you enough to know that this is a man who has a why. So let's share it with the world.
Sure. No pressure.
No pressure.
Wow.
Let me tell a quick story. So I met Ravi, weirdly, at a party, except we were driving up to the party, and I guess there was like a lot of parking at the top and there was nowhere to park. And my wife and my kid, my son, who Ravi's friendly with, were in the car. At some point, they invited you to get into the car. I missed it. I was like so caught up in the moment. When you get to the parking spot, I turn around and you're like, "Hi, I'm Ravi." Like, who the fuck got in my car? Right? I didn't even remember that. So that was a pretty Shaolin moment where this just peaceful papa popped into my car.
Just emerged through the silhouette with the full moon overhead.
And I was like, "Hi, I'm Ravi." And you just got that vibe about you. I'm sure you've heard that before.
For sure.
Very peaceful.
Yeah. No, thank you. Even as you were sharing your intro, I was getting feedback on my crown, just buzzing on my head, that every 13 minutes a man takes his life. And it was actually something I was thinking about just today while I was walking from one place to the next. I'm competing in a High Rocks competition 1 month from today.
What's that?
High Rocks is an athletic format happening all over the world right now. Kind of has some cachet like CrossFit did years ago. But it's a certain format where you run a kilometer and then you do a high intensity interval workout. And then you run a kilometer and then another workout. And you do that 8 times. Test your strength, your endurance. It's a bit more fast paced than an Ironman or some of the longer form competitions. But I haven't done it before. So I'm in kind of training for it. And there's just a deeper, connected to my why. It's this deeper commitment to stay moving, to stay active, and to tap into that inner reservoir of strength and resolve and discipline. And it's teaching me a lot. And the reason I bring that up is because I want to spotlight what I'm doing. I'm actually competing in what's called doubles. So I've got a dear friend and a brother who lives in the UK, and him and I are going to be competing in doubles in Italy, of all places.
Together on this thing.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, it's kind of like we do all the running together, and then as we're going through each interval station, I will be switching off and being in some sort of harmony or chaos as we try to compete. But we're spinning up a GoFundMe to raise money and awareness for men's mental health. And so, what your mission and what you're about really aligns with what I'm trying to be a stand for as well.
I love it. Why that particular focus?
Yeah, that competition, again, I was actually, for this year, I wanted to dig into something just to have a bit of a North Star for continuing to stay on this path of discipline and fitness.
Why the focus of mental health? Men's mental health.
For sure.
Is that something you're passionate about?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think similarly, there's just hearing the stories of men taking their lives, especially when they are fathers as well, that really hits deep for me. I actually don't have much suicide or that type of narrative in my lineage, but I know it's so present and pervasive in our society, and it breaks my heart.
Yeah, and those are only, one form of suicide. I mean, I work with guys, coach guys, was a rabbi for a long time, buried a lot of guys who die natural causes, but they killed themselves a lot sooner than their actual body checked out of here. So there's all kinds of ways to check out, and it's no way to live. And I'm glad you're bringing attention to it and some resources to it. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah. So you have this very peaceful Papa vibe about you. You've manifested that now into a podcast. Let's talk about that. And I've wondered, what's the drive behind that? What's the purpose of the podcast? What do you want to get out there?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. Years ago, when I got on the path of my own spiritual awakening and just cleansing myself of ancestral traumas and really being that cycle breaker in my lineage, I wrote a book. It was called Ready to Rise: How to Find Your Path to Peace and Purpose. And at the time, I was not a father. I was on the path of becoming one. It's always been something that I'd want to experience in this lifetime. But my own traumas and challenges in life took me on a deep journey to India. And there I went through an initiation of a yoga teacher training and deep meditation retreats. And what kept coming through was that I want to take this wisdom and this newfound experience and this new perspective, and I want to help others. That really felt like the only path forward. And I was coming from a pretty capitalistic startup and technology background. And while all of that was fine and good, it just didn't have the juice that healing and wisdom traditions and being a stand to be in service that felt so much more aligned. And that was ultimately what helped me orient more towards this more purposeful path. But even in my book, I talk about mindfulness a good amount, but then I also bring in this layer of purposefulness. It was a word that came through for me that I haven't seen anywhere else. But for me, I oversimplify mindfulness as moment to moment, non-judgmental awareness. For me, that's mindfulness. How can I move through my day and my life mindfully? It's this really, I'm here, breathing, present physically in my environment without judgment. And so purposefulness expands that idea into purpose. And in any given moment, I can be living purposefully. And for me, that's a moment to moment orientation in the world. And so for me, where I really get held up with purpose is when I try and bring in occupation. Does my purpose also have to be my vocation? Does my purpose have to pay my bills and feed my family? And I get a lot of inner liberation when I drop that idea of purpose needs to sustain me, but also purpose can sustain me. And so right now, I'm living my purpose when I am on my unique path of self-actualization, while also working through the karma and the energies that I have to and I get to work through in this lifetime, so that my individuated, unique expression of myself is just that. It's a unique expression of who I am, where I've come from, how I can serve the world, and ultimately where I'm headed. And so with that formula kind of always percolating within me, I'm both mindful of how I'm moving and breathing and being in the world, but then also I'm just showing up and serving what is on my path and how I can be helpful to others.
I love it. I have this amazing tool I'm going to offer you.
Yeah, please.
When you're moving through the world, you go head, heart, hara. You heard about this before?
Keep going.
Heard it on this great podcast called The Peaceful Papa. But, to me, that is a really important tool that you're offering to the world. Although because I thought it was hara as in the Israeli Hebrew word for hara, which is shit.
Really? Oh, amazing.
I figured it was something down here in the gut instinctual region.
That hara is more of a Japanese word. That is that energetic.
Well, it's close to the shit spot, but
honestly.
But it was a great embodiment of what you just described, moving through the world. I'm not just neck up thinking, which is how we often, can I shift the energy down? What am I feeling? That was a really great tool and exercise. Watch Ravi's podcast. That's a solo one, pretty easy to find on there. But, you shared about your journey from your head, from your heart, and from this gut place. And very powerful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think as well, vocation and even purpose can be a very neck up journey if we're just thinking from the mind of like, what is my purpose? What is my why? To lean into where we're headed. But the moment we can get into more of that felt experience and then even deeper into like, at the core of my being, like, who am I? What am I here to do? What have I endured? What have I learned? And where am I going? That for me is much more of a gut place.
Such a great point. So in my book, revolves around 6 questions. A guy gets asked, and he's in a bar. It's, what's your name?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? Are you single, etc. But the second question a man always gets asked is, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's your name? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And I've done this 10,000 times, literally 10,000 people, audiences individually, and men 90 to 95% of the time tell me what they do for a living.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Do the same thing with women.
Yeah.
Almost never do they respond right away.
Totally.
This is how I get paid.
Yeah.
And that's what you're touching on. And that's such an important, that's like countercultural.
Yeah. Well, and I do exactly that. I play with it because I engage with the world through this lens, a lot of head, heart, hara. And so when somebody asks you, what do you do? It's very much the head. It's just the mind looking to protect itself and understand who they're speaking with. And so when a average guy asks me, so what do you do? As that first or second question, I respond with, what do I do for fun? What do I do in my spare time? What do I do in the wee hours of the morning? Like, what are you really asking?
You're nice, because have you ever heard of the Enneagram? Do you know the Enneagram?
For sure.
So I teach the Enneagram. I'm an Enneagram 8, a disruptor. So I like to disrupt shit. So when guys does that to me, I say, I help men not kill themselves. Right? And I'm a dad. I'm try to be a peaceful papa, and I'm 1,000 other things. Yeah. And you want to know how I pay the bills? Yeah. Right?
Totally.
And that's such a small part of a healthy man's identity. It's a part. Yeah. But it's only a part. Or it should be.
I think that's what's so enlivening and beautiful about being a more integrated man, is that there's these layers of you, of us, that we can play with and be with and own and share versus just, where are you from? What do you do? What's this? How do you say your name? Yeah. There's so much more.
Yeah. And they're such simple questions, but they're so complex.
Yeah.
I mean, even your name, what's your name? Is it Ravi or is it something else?
Totally.
Right? So much good stuff there to go. Purposefulness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might have coined a term. I'm not sure it rolls off the tongue, but it certainly gets the point across. What is purposefulness to Ravi? What does that mean?
Yeah, like I shared before, it's this moment-to-moment orientation towards purpose, and also tying in the mindfulness piece. It's non-judgmental, right? Because I can get lost in the judgments and the thoughts and the spirals of what is my purpose. And I think there is value in naming it and claiming what is my purpose. But purpose is this moving target that, for me, it evolves. And so the moment I name it and I claim it, it limits who I am and how I show up.
Yeah.
And so, again, even just to bring it back to who I am right now and what I'm doing in the world for occupation, I am mostly selling cars. I'm a conscious car salesman. That's what I see myself as. And that showed up because, again, long story short, I was doing men's work, holding spaces for men's groups, for dad groups, teaching yoga, doing things that really aligned to my soul and maybe to my deeper level of like cellular purpose, but it wasn't sustaining me. And so, at least not the way I was doing it. And really organically, a dear friend of mine needed help selling a car, or buying a car, excuse me. He needed help buying a car. And I helped him because I knew, without going so much into that part of that layer of me, I knew a lot about that, and I can help him effortlessly. Gave him a 5-star experience just by virtue of being a friend and helping him. He was like, Ravi, that was amazing. And he's a coach himself. He's been in these spaces a lot. He was like, you have a real gift. You are the car guru. And I was like, yeah, that was fun and easy for me. I'm glad we helped you. And he's like, no, you're like you're like really good at this. And he starts texting all of his coach and healer friends. And then my phone is buzzing. Ravi, I hear you're the car guru. I need your help. Ravi, I need your help. And just organically, naturally, I had this bit of a side hustle. And I, as the entrepreneur in me, created an offering, and all of a sudden I had something that was sustaining me. Just because I was following that breadcrumb, that thread that showed up really naturally. And after a couple months of doing that, naturally I walked into a car dealership, and just to get a sense of the vibe. And all of a sudden I had a job offer to like take it to the big leagues and go sell cars full time, because somebody else had told me how lucrative it could be. And that was also a part of like purposeful providership, just based on the stage and chapter that I'm in life. And again, I wasn't like seeking to be a car salesman, but it happened really easily and organically. And all of a sudden I was in the throes of full-on car dealership sales. And within my first month, I was very successful. And then I sustained that for the next couple of years. And then to this day, I'm still one of the top salesmen in probably the country, maybe the world. Like, I'm just really good at that. And it touches on parts of my soul. It's this purposefulness piece. I'm providing a service. I'm doing it with presence and consciousness. And a lot of the people that I work feel, I don't act differently when I'm in the car dealership. Mm-hmm. And so my customers feel that peaceful aura. And it turns out that's good for business too.
That's amazing. First of all, I was a rabbi for a long time, and I think there's an expression, don't shit where you eat, mm-hmm. right? You start to diminish, transactionalize your thing, right? In that process. Like in the old days, rabbis were never paid. They were like farmers.
Totally.
Because the moment you start accepting money for it, it changes the nature of it. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it changes the nature. And I've thought about it a lot. Even my son Yehuda, who considered maybe for a moment being a rabbi, and I really discouraged him because he loves his Judaism, mm-hmm. right? And there's this healthy, beautiful thing about earning your money, right, and bringing it out into the world and not having to conflate it all to be all one thing, all purposeful, everything, like be everything to me profession.
Yeah.
And yet, so on the one hand, you reinforce that. On the other hand, you also remind us that spirituality and purpose, right, can be expressed in anything we do.
Yeah.
Because what you describe to me is a very spiritual coaching process that happens to revolve around cars.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Holding space for others, really listening and hearing them. There's so much density and baggage around the traditional car salesperson. Mm-hmm. And so the moment I can redefine that and break that down, I feel like I'm living purposefully.
And what a car represents,
mm-hmm.
I had to counsel when I was a rabbi, a lot of older women whose husbands we had to take away their license.
Yeah.
And one of the most devastating things I've seen in a man's life is when he's told he can't drive anymore, like as a man. It was very hard. And so it's not really about a car, is it? Like, you're not really selling cars. You're really selling lots of things that the car delivers.
Totally. Yeah. It was funny too. My first few months at the car dealership, I would semi-regularly have somebody crying at my desk. Whether it was someone that was going through a big transition, maybe losing a license, or they were just in an accident, now they have to get a new car, or trading in an old car that meant something to them, and now they're going through this new version of themselves. But semi-regularly, there was someone in tears at my desk. And, it's a very visible place. And so word got around, and people were kind of joking like, oh, if you end up buying a car from Ravi, you're probably going to cry. Or like, why is everybody crying at Ravi's desk? What's happening there? And also I'm really vulnerable too with my entire staff. And I just share, like, I hold space for people, and it's safe to have an emotional experience while we're sitting here having an emotional experience. I really, again, try not to compartmentalize and it's not safe to feel things while going through a really big purchase and investment.
Yeah, money is not money. It represents so much more. And so whenever you're exchanging money, right, we're dealing in some, that's why it's called a means, right? It's a means to something else.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite exercises I would do, I still do it with people who, to clarify their values is, because I experience this a lot with mothers in particular, but parents in general, around a 16-year-old who's getting their license.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say to them, what's your number one value when your kid gets behind the wheel? What do they always say?
Safety.
Bullshit. It's not true. How do I know it's not true? Because you're letting them drive. Like, it's not safety. It's autonomy, responsibility, right?
Independence.
And then they say, okay, safety's number two. I'm like, okay, what kind of car are you buying them? Volvo. Buy them a tank if safety's number two. Buy them a bus.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but it's a clarifying process.
Yeah, I love that.
Using the car as one example that we got to get real clear about our values. Like, what are we really doing here?
Yeah, wow.
So what a great pulpit you've created for yourself. That's amazing.
And even what you just shared too, I've helped one family navigate the father experiencing dementia and needing to lose his car. Like, I sold him the car and then they had to sell it back to me. And then just recently their son is turning 16 and they came to me because they trusted me, and we went on a journey of finding them the right car to really usher in that new chapter for his independence.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So purposefulness, I love of this idea of kind of just bringing it down to the present moment, sort of demystifying it. You know, I always bash on Simon Sinek. I love him. It's a great book, but start with why. But you read it and you go, oh shit, what's my why?
Yeah.
But, you know, Viktor Frankl talked about there's the why or the meaning of life, but you can't really know it until you're looking back in the end, kind of piecing it together. But there's the meaning of the moment.
Yeah.
Like the why of the moment. You're describing a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I listened to Man's Search for Meaning pretty early on in my journey. I think I had a physical copy of the autobiography of a yogi. It was a very thick book that I was schlepping around India. But also in my ear, I was listening to Man's Search for Meaning. And oh man, what a text. So even when you shared that he's teacher, mentor of yours, that really struck a chord.
Yeah, he became a spiritual father to me. I never met him, but I've read like all 39 of his books. I became a logotherapist. That's his school of psychotherapy. And it was my third book. And even though I wasn't a logotherapist, he's referenced in all of them because when my father was sort of on the descent, my grandfather turned me on to Viktor Frankl, gave me the book, and I just saw the antithesis. You know, my father had all of these external successes, but in the end, he didn't have anything because he didn't have internal validation or success. And he threw away his life. And then I saw this man who had everything taken from him, and yet he had himself, his true self. And so he became this mythical example for me of what's possible. So yeah, very, very powerful in my life. So wandering around India. So I was a rabbi. I don't identify. I'm a spiritual mutt these days. I've drawn a lot of connection and direction from Hinduism. The Bhagavad Gita really changed the way I think of spirituality. Sounds like Hinduism had its impact upon you?
Hinduism, a little bit. Not to get so into theology here, but more of like the science of yoga. Yoga was this spiritual, what I thought, actually it was a physical practice for me very much while I was here in the US. It's very much about the postures and the asanas and like repairing my body that was pretty broken from a lifetime of injuries and sport and accidents. But early on in my yoga journey, I felt for the first time this like wellspring of emotion that I didn't have access to before. And yeah, pretty quickly found a more spiritual connection through a yoga practice. And then it was a tool and a resource that I had, but I kept it at an arm's length away. I had invitations to like go through teacher trainings in the US and really go down that path, but I always resisted it until it was just too undeniable that I wanted to go deeper on yoga. And yeah, yoga as a science that has a lot of overlap actually with Hinduism as a religion.
Mm-hmm.
And then also in my more like contemplative practices and journey, I went down, I'm not Buddhist, but I participated in a 10-day silent meditation retreat that was also an introduction to Buddhism. So while we were in silence, instead of a like Vipassana, where you're in stillness and silence with no text and external knowledge input, this was an intro to Buddhism. So going really deep in stillness and this inner journey, but then also learning a lot about Buddhism. And that was really illuminating for me.
Is it part of your practice to this day?
Not in a traditional, there's so many Buddhist practices that are, for me, not as, they don't do as much for me, and I haven't gone down that path. But in terms of looking through life through the lens of suffering and alleviation of suffering and attachments, that's definitely a part of how I move through the world. You
didn't necessarily grow up with this worldview. It doesn't seem like.
Not at all.
No.
Traditional Jewish upbringing, but like just high holy days and the occasional Shabbat. And what I was modeled from by mostly my father was just such a lack of actual connection to the faith and to the religion.
Just going through the motions. We do it because we do it.
Do it because your mom wants us to. And even beyond that, without going too much into my dad's story, there'd be moments where we were at like a high holy day service. And I think the music, the whole sacredness of being in that environment, in that service, always really, it did something to me for sure. And then I glance over at my dad, and this was before everybody had cell phones, but my dad be looking down at his little sports pager, just like looking at the scores, and was so just detached from what was right there in the moment. And that's a big part of like how and who I've become.
So you weren't given a spiritual practice worldview. You went out and you found it and put it together for yourself.
Absolutely. Yes.
It sounds like it's very central to your life, and I can feel it and listen to the podcasts around your parenting as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it is central. I wish, in terms of what do I value and are my actions aligning to what I say that I value? I would like to design my life in a way where I have more time for spiritual outlets. There are things that I do in spiritual sangha and community infrequently. It's still something that I commit to and I participate in, but yeah, when I have more time, I would like to do even more.
Well, I know you just did a super interesting gathering around Rumi. Wasn't it? No. Didn't you just?
Osho.
Osho.
Maybe.
Yeah. It was a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah. I missed it.
Yes.
Tell me about that. What did that look like?
Yeah. So I'm very open about my involvement with Osho and that community. And every Sunday there's a satsang. And that satsang is an hour of silence, of sitting in meditation with interludes of music and then short Osho quotes and just like few minute long discourses from Osho when he was speaking. And I'm a facilitator of that. So I love holding that space. Again, I do it maybe once every couple months, but that practice and that group gathers every week and somebody's leading it every week. I wish I could be there every week. It just doesn't align right now. But when I do, it's so, enriching. Within that hour, it's really a moment of creating a Buddha field and a heart coherence. And from that place, just such an incredible depth that we can go into.
Is that a big community? Is that a vibrant community?
Vibrant, yes. Yeah. Big, not really. They've been around for, here in Boulder for going on 30 years. And most of them, though, are people that have lived with and been with Osho in the 70s and 80s, mostly in India. And so, it's a slightly older community. I'm one of the younger ones. And it does attract more people that are spiritually curious. And it's such a rich container for anybody that finds their way there.
Is it a formal community? You belong there, or is it just sort of a pop-up? You go and check it out?
It's formal in the sense that like the building has a name and there's a website and programming and things that are happening. And it is very easy to drop into. Yeah.
Is that your only spiritual community here in town?
That's the main one. And then, yeah, like the broader yoga community, I feel relatively connected to. I'm still teaching yoga once a week, and that gives me a lot. Yeah.
Have you been down to Crestone?
I have, but not for spiritual reasons.
So cool. I've been down to a few different ashrams down there.
Yeah.
It's just such a vortex and interesting. Like you feel like you're in India, right? You go past all these yaks and llamas, and you know, these people are just so authentic and real, and you can see why they gravitated down there. But you should definitely check it out.
I love that that's here. Like I know Taos, Crestone, a lot of people find their way to those places. Yeah,
it's a weird little gem here in Colorado. Like everybody always thinks of, you know, like Aspen and Vail and whatever, and it's you go down to Crestone, it's nothing. It's like so far from that, so gritty and raw and simple. Yeah, but
you know, a lot of these places and spiritual outlets, you know, we find them when we're ready to find them. I think what's cool too about this Osho Center, it's in North Boulder. I lived 5 minutes away from it for almost 5 years, and I never knew that it existed. But it wasn't until I was on that path that it showed up, and then it was like, oh, of course this was right here all along.
Why now? Or why did it show up at that time?
Breadcrumbs. Again, the same, living purposefully and paying attention. Yeah, it's a combination of like the surrender experiment and the I'm forgetting the name of the book right now. The one where they go to Chile and find all these little breadcrumbs that take them to I'll circle back on that because it's a good book as well for the person that's new to their seeking. But really just paying attention. My yoga teachers in India happened to be Osho sannyasins is the word. There were Osho sannyasins as well. On top of yoga, we were doing all these crazy meditations, and I loved them. And then when it came time to like, for me on my path to decide what to do next while I was in India and had time, I made my way to an Osho center and did a 5-day Osho retreat. And then I was literally like signing out from that retreat, and this Indian woman in the foothills of the Himalayas was speaking to me, and she's like, "So where's home for you? Like, where to next?" And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna make my way back to the United States." She's like, "Yeah, I know you're from the United States." I was like, "Okay." Colorado. She's like, "Okay, we're getting somewhere." And I was like, "Okay, I live in Boulder, Colorado." And she's like, "Oh," in an Indian accent, she's like, "We have good friends there. Would you like me to introduce you?" I'm like, what? This like woman in a back office of this Indian retreat center wants to introduce me to somebody in Boulder? Just, it was so ridiculous and foreign. But I accepted her invitation. She facilitated an email conversation. And it happened that the same weekend that I was coming back from all this time in India, this Osho Center was celebrating their 25-year anniversary. And they had this 3-day festival planned with all these meditations I had just been exposed to. And it was the same weekend that I was coming back. And just slotted in perfectly. I volunteered. I taught my first yoga class at that festival and just plugged right in effortlessly.
That's how it works. And the student is ready. What's your partner's name?
Lynn Ann.
Is Lynn Ann a part of this journey with you, the spiritual side of things?
She is. Yeah, she had her own kind of spiritual path that gave us enough alignment and resonance as we were coming together in our relationship. And then through me, I did expose her to all the wonderful world of Osho, and she dipped her toe in and then dipped her whole body in, and ultimately she also is on this path with me.
Are you bringing that into your home and raising your kids with the exposure to this?
Actually, yeah.
That's cool.
And not in like a dogmatic way of like, this is who we are and this is how we operate, but like just exposing them to Like they come to the meditations, even if they're like in a side room until it ends. And then when we're all dancing and connecting in the end, like they're there. And yeah, I'm not like spiritually shy and in some closet where like, this is the thing that daddy does. It's very much something that's a part of our family unit.
So essentially you're giving them what you didn't get, right? This embodied experience of spirituality.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to so many Jews who have variations of this story, myself included. We're out there just doing all these other isms. And partially it's because we just didn't, we didn't get it in our own tradition.
Yeah, I love that too, because today, if I were to be at a Shabbat or a high holy day celebration of sorts, the Judaism is, it has now a new depth because I'm layering in all of the other perspectives and practices that I have. So I do have such a reverence for it. And I'm exposing my family to that as well, without this, again, this like hyper dogmatic, like we are Jewish and this is how we move through the world. It's just, we are all these isms, and we are organisms. And how can we slow down enough on a Friday night to celebrate the week and appreciate a Shabbat and do a lot more?
Yeah, it comes from this place of love, not fear, right? There's so much fear that was built in, and understandably, like that's the world tried to wipe us out a generation prior. So lots of fear, circle the wagons, stay Jewish, etc. And I think drove a lot of us away. But I see a lot of people returning on their terms, and whatever that might mean. Like you're describing a really beautiful return of sorts that feels authentic. Yeah. Leading a Shabbat journey tomorrow, 2 days from now, with my wife. We're leading Shabbat journeys where we're using plant medicine as a way to open up Kabbalat Shabbat into the evening portion. And so it's our third time we're piloting it, just kind of see what we're doing. How does it look like? It's as much, Sanskrit chanting as it is Hebrew chanting. And but I don't know. I think we're gonna get you to one of those.
Oh, I'm so hooked. Yeah.
Actually, Yudah's participating this one.
Okay.
And he's not an easy customer because he's an Orthodox Jew. He's serious. But I figure if we can work it out with the Orthodox Jews, we can work it out with the spiritual seeking Jews.
So good.
Yeah. So we'll get you into the next one. That'd be cool. Well, your presence says as much about you. I mean, your words speak well for you too, but you're in the presence of somebody who's embodying their mission, their purposefulness. Just kind of get that rolling off the tongue more. But
the peaceful Papa, the purposefulness, like it's all kind of a
you're into the P, yeah. But it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to feel it. And I can feel it when I'm in your presence. So maybe before we wrap up, just a little bit about that. Like, what are you conveying? What do you want to convey with the peaceful Papa? Because sometimes like me, it's, hey, I got a book to sell and I got coaching and I got retreats and I got this stuff, but I've gathered from you, it's not a pathway to sell cars.
Yeah. Right. If I were better at this whole, like, what's my why and orienting towards it and packaging it up in a holistic way. And there are days where I wish or aspire to that it had a bit more signal and coherence so that people can find my work. And at my Enneagram, I'm a 7. I'm an enthusiast.
You're a 7. You're definitely a 9 too, a peacemaker.
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
So you got they're all in you, but those two are alive and well.
For sure. And I create a lot of things. As spirit moves through me, I create. I've got a book. I've got a podcast. I've got a family that I made. Like there will always be more. And even there's a lot of men and fathers that I speak with who they're like, peaceful Papa, that's cool, but like that's not my jam. I'm not actively. I know that peace might be good for me, but that's not what I'm seeking out. And actually what's most alive for me right now is this father's on fire. There's this inner fire, again, connected to this like athletic competition I'm doing, connected with being the most vital, embodied, present version of myself. And that's the energetics of what I want to create next. And so, I'll just speak to, if something from our conversation has resonated, like, reach out. I'm the Peaceful Papa on Instagram. I will be creating some offerings specifically for dads that want to be really on fire. Instead of fatherhood can be this dumpster fire. If you're not really embodied and committed and doing all the things that are going to keep you vital and resourced to have the capacity for all of the life that will happen while you're fathering. And so, yeah, that's where I've got a lot of juice right now.
That's amazing, because I work with men primarily, not exclusively, sort of midlife on the tail end of that father. And I mean, you're fathering forever, but
Yeah.
the kids in the nest kind of thing. And they're leaving, or they've just left. And if there's been a dumpster fire, it's like, now what's my purposefulness? How do I bring back that energy to myself? And like, why would we just defer that until a certain point?
And I'm going to tie this back to Osho and Hinduism. We're going full circle right here, but I'll try and keep it compact. In Hinduism, there's like 4 stages of life, and they very clearly outline that. And the 4th stage, your final stage of life, is called sannyas. It's when you've had the career, you've had the family, and now you're finally ready to retreat into like spiritual practice and presence and love and devotion. And Osho is basically like, why are we waiting till we're already dead or dying to finally, now we surrender to the grace of holiness and God, and whatever that looks like for you. And so with becoming a sannyasin, one who takes sannyas, you're essentially committing to living fully before you're dead. And so I love that alignment piece with what you just shared.
Oh, you know how many guys I buried who lived to retire and then retired and then died?
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts. What a terrible formula.
Yeah.
It's total aside, but there's no word in the Hebrew Bible for retirement. It's a modern thing, right? You're supposed to integrate this during the course of your life. So I love that you're helping men do that. So essential. And another big part of my work is masculine development, archetypal work around the king, magician, warrior, lover. Sounds like that would resonate with you. But it's this king aspect. And like, why do you have to wait to be the king, which is authority, owning your life, right? Until a certain point down the road. Like, let's start authoring or taking back that authority sooner.
Yeah.
And that's what I hear you talking about.
Yeah. Archetypal work is so deep. So I'm intrigued to speak with you more about all the things that you're doing. I think even with kingship, just like a king who is embodied and of service to their kingdom. And I think a lot of the men that I speak with who are not yet fathers, there's a lot of fear there around like, my kingdom has to be in order before I can become a father.
Right.
Versus like, the journey of becoming a father and developing your kingdom while you learn and grow that's what my experience was anyways.
You can't become a king without people in your kingdom.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. I'm going to build the kingdom without the people. What you're saying is you're going to build the infrastructure, but that's not a king.
Yeah.
Right. That's warrior. That's magician. And yeah, I say it all the time, like, men need committed relationships. I don't care what form it takes, but it needs to take a form, because we're not wired for it. Service, duty, other, right? And so to be a king, you got to be in service.
Yeah.
Viktor Frankl calls it self-transcendence, right? And Maslow actually would debate, literally, you can see it online. Obviously, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization. And Frankl would say, you can't be the highest version of yourself unless you're serving beyond yourself. Right? It's this sort of Zen koan thing. And so many younger men. But the flip side of that, I would say, is, and it can't only be of service of other, right? Which is what you're saying, deferring yourself, your work, while you're raising kids in the name of your kids.
Yeah.
Like, and I love what you're doing. You're saying it's both of these things.
Totally.
Let's hold the tension. So the peaceful papa, the fired up father, what was it called?
Fathered up. Yeah. Father's on fire.
Father's
for the fired up father, or the guy that wants to be fired up.
Or, and everything in between. So it's amazing work. You've inspired me. Just being in your presence makes me want to be more in your presence. So I don't know what form that takes, but I know it's going to take a form. So
Here for it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise.
All right.
Thanks.